Hey guys, Bryan Karp, aka Mailbox Money, with my co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the professor, Anthony Loffredo. And we are here on the Brick to Brick podcast. This podcast is for you if you're a brand new investor who's looking to purchase their first house hack, or you're a seasoned real estate investor with a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. You're going to enjoy hearing the inside information that we get from all of our guests. On this podcast, we interview brokers, investors, developers, property management companies, syndicators, any piece of buy and hold real estate.
Right now, we have Kunal Patel on the podcast. Welcome, Kunal. He's from SVN. How did you get started in real estate, Kunal?
I actually started in real estate since I was born. My family owns a motel back in Milan, Tennessee. So we lived at the property and operated the property pretty much my whole life. And then growing up, my dad had a single family rental portfolio that we managed. And we actually just did renovations on that full portfolio this year. And then we're doing a full renovation on our family hotel starting in December. So kind of been in it my whole life. And then I went to school at UT, went to school for supply chain international business. Never expected to go back into commercial real estate because my dad always wanted me to get a degree. My mom wanted me to get a degree and go do something else, but somehow found my way back. I know you guys had Bryan on earlier. Bryan's my partner.
It's like Goodfellas. They pull you back into the family business.
Exactly. And then Bryan, he's my partner now. I know you guys had him on earlier. He actually brought me back into the commercial brokerage world. Never really ever thought about that space. Never even knew about the space at all until I met him, to be honest. And then I worked for Amazon for quite a few years and hated it there. And I was like, it's time to go work for myself. So Bryan was like, come work with me. And then I made the leap and I was like, all right, let's go. And we partnered together. And now we sell multifamily across the Southeast. So
have you ever seen the show Schitt's Creek?
I have, yeah.
Oh my God. So as soon as I hear family-owned hotel, my wife loves Schitt's Creek. Obviously, your family's hotel is nothing like that. But Bryan, that's so interesting. So Kunal, I'm sorry. It's so interesting. So you literally grew up in one of the hotel rooms, or you guys had a house near the hotel?
We actually grew up in the hotel. We had an apartment with 2 bedrooms. My parents had one, and me, my brothers and sisters split the other one until I was in high school. And then my dad opened up 2 more rooms, and we got our own room at that point. We had a house all through. We've always had houses. We had rental houses. And then my dad bought his own personal house that he fully gutted and renovated that they finally moved into last year. So we've always had homes. We just never stayed at any of them. We always lived on the property and ran the hotel. So that's kind of in our blood.
Awesome. That is so cool. You always hear people saying they've been doing this since they were in diapers, but literally you grew up in the family hotel. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that hospitality business and how that whole thing works?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 24/7 operation. I mean, there's really not any downtime. You got housekeeping in the morning. During the night, you got night shift, and then during the day, you're usually checking customers in and accommodating them pretty much all day. So if someone rings the bell at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., we're gonna wake up and you have to go to the front desk. So that's kind of how we lived. We wake up early, go strip all the rooms, take all the sheets off, and start the laundry. And then go to school, and it was just like a repeat. Come back from school, work desk, and then wake up and do it all over again. So that was just kind of how we lived. And then you really didn't get too much time off. If we wanted to go on a trip, we would have to hire a whole team to come in. Usually it's another family is how we kind of operated, would come in and run it for the weekend or the week while we're gone. And then we'd come back and take over. So there was really not too much of staff. We would have housekeepers. But other than that, it was pretty much family ran.
That's it. That's absolutely incredible. Do they evaluate hotels similar to multifamily, like the occupancy? Like, how do you guys like come up with valuations? Like on the multifamily space, right? The professor Anthony is always going to look at what the rents are and what the projections could be. But what do you guys look at per room, what it could rent for? And on average, it's 20 nights a month. And then you come up with some calculation like that's, how does that work?
So usually, I mean, occupancy in hotels is up and down. You can't really predict it. I mean, you can get a range, but usually multifamily you can guide occupancy. You can find ways to fill those units. In hospitality, it's very hard to fill those units, and unless there's demand in that area in that city, or you just have a really strong local base that's looking for rental housing. That's kind of the case in Milan, where we live. We have a lot of local residents that come and stay at the property for like weekly rates and stuff like that, just because it's really hard to find housing, and a lot of them have jobs where they can't afford to pay for a full month. So evaluating a hotel is usually on a multiple of the revenue. So I know in multifamily we do it similar to its NOI, and then you do cap rate. You'll get a cap rate on hotels as well, but usually it's like 3 to 4 times their total revenue. So it's sold more like a business instead. A multifamily sold more like real estate. So a little bit different.
I know you specialize in, and I know all of our listeners are dying to hear, and selfishly me myself as well, is you've done many motel conversions to multifamily. Can you unpack that a little bit for us? Because honestly, whenever I see a motel for sale in my head, I'm like, can we make this a multifamily property? Like, why not?
Yeah, so there's a lot of factors that go into it. So motel to apartment conversions, the three main things that you're looking for to make it the easiest. There's ways to do it around it, but you just have to do the full infrastructure. But you're looking for individually metered rooms. So there's already a breaker panel in there. You're looking for a sprinkler system that's already installed. And then you're usually looking for some type of kitchenette system. And if you have those three, it's going to be a pretty strong multifamily conversion asset. You can still convert assets if you get them at a very low basis and add all that infrastructure, but obviously those costs are very, very high. So if you can get those three already fit in, we sold one in Nashville not 4 or 5 months ago. It was 117 key hometown studios. It's right by the airport, Murfreesboro Road. It's a really busy thoroughway. And he's just finished converting that one. It took 5 months for him to convert that from motel to multifamily, and it is a full gut. He redoes the entire rooms, redid the exterior, and is already starting leasing that one up. That one we sold at 9.5 million, so about 80, around 80, low 80s a door. And then the comps in Nashville are all trading about 150. So these guys are still getting 1,400 per door on that kind of asset. And it's a studio. And if you're getting it at 80K a door, you're dumping probably 10, maybe 10, 15K a unit on the high end. You're doing fairly well, I would say. And the easy part with these properties, I wouldn't say the easy part, but the bigger benefit of these properties is the city of Nashville currently has a strong demand for low-income housing, and there's a wait list for these vouchers. And these vouchers are about $1,400 a month. That's the market that the government, the HUD, allows for that area for these units. So, I mean, if they're getting $1,400 a month, the guaranteed income, that's a strong demand generator for investors. So.
Kamal, is the same zoning? That's always a question I'm always when I see it. Is it just where all you got to do is purchase the asset and start, ripping down walls and running electric, or is it something that you have to go to the city or the municipalities and get their approval to do that?
Yeah, it all depends. So some cities, like smaller towns, they're all about it. They usually want to convert those properties into something that's more beneficial, because they're usually ran as maybe hourly rooms or something like that the city's not too fond of. So changing that just kind of changes the perspective of the property in the city. Cities like Nashville, there's a property we're working on there. Zoning is a big issue. So like there's a property that has 120 rooms, but you have to have 1.5 parking, which you'd need 180 parking spaces to convert it. Currently as a hotel, you don't need that, but to convert to multifamily, with the current zoning, you would need 4 or 60 more parking spaces. So we're having to go to lots around the property. There's a church nearby to see if we can get 60 parking spaces that they will write off to us. We wouldn't buy try to purchase these parking spots, but write off to us if we ever needed it. We would
Oh,
never would need these need these parking spots ever, because most people that are going to be staying at these properties are not going to have a vehicle. There's
yeah.
already 120 something spots there. So that's a big thing that we're kind of working through now, is you have to find the loopholes to get that done. Even around zoning, because currently with the way this property is, it only needs a change of use. It doesn't need a full rezone. So that's why if we can get these parking spaces, we'll be able to convert. It's currently CS, so we can go from motel to multifamily fairly easy with the change of use. But if we can't get the parking spaces, we'd have to go through a full rezone, which would have to have councilman approval, which would take who knows how long, 6 to 8 months at least, going through the city of Nashville. So it all really does depend on zoning as well. If you're in a small city, it's usually a lot easier. But cities like Nashville are pretty strong on their zoning standards. So it's a little bit harder to get things through.
That is the coolest thing. I never thought about that. You guys could basically not rent, but you can get approval from the church or somebody else to use their parking, but you don't need it. Obviously, they're going to want some type of compensation for that.
Oftentimes, with the church, we are partnering with a nonprofit, so that's often something that they'll do, knowing it's for homeless people. They usually, we wouldn't expect them to charge, especially if we're never going to use it. It's more of a, can we work together? Can we build rapport in the community to where we can continue to bring in residents to this property that can really impact their lives? So
yeah. No, it's the right thing to do. Me as the capitalist, I'm like, hey, come, I got parking here in New York. You could use it. I just gonna need a little taste.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely different here in New York than it is in Tennessee. Definitely realize that.
If I had a motel and a multifamily, both 50 units next to each other, it's going to be the multifamily that trades for a lot more. Is that accurate? And that's why a lot of people are trying to go from motel to multi.
Usually, yeah. The big difference is these properties are just studios. And the multi will have maybe 2 to 3 bedroom units. So that's the larger difference. One big thing in Nashville is, what do we do with the families that are homeless now, because we can't fit them in the studios. So trying to find a solution for families. This solution is great for, I guess, single people, 1 or 2 people. But when you have a family, it's kind of hard to live in that small of a space. So that's another solution that we're trying to work through on the multifamily and motel side, because a lot of multifamily properties in Nashville, they are run down and they could be bought at the values that some of these hotels could trading for. But the reality is there's not many of those, and those owners are probably not going to sell. So
Are there, Kunal, are there, incentives that the city will give for the affordable housing, tax abatements, things like that, that kind of help them, especially in the beginning, because it's such a heavy lift capital-wise?
Yep. So that's another reason the nonprofit thing is a big thing. So in the property we sold, the property partnered with a nonprofit that helps younger children that are coming out of foster homes have housing. So a certain amount of the units have to be dedicated to kids that are coming out of foster homes. So they've partnered with a nonprofit that works with those individuals, and they were able to apply for what's called a Barnes grant. And you have to have a nonprofit partnered with you to be able to get this grant. And they were able to obtain $7 million, and they paid $9.5 million for the property. And I'm not sure how much they paid in construction. I'm assuming another $1 million to $2 million max. So they're probably all in now at $4.5 million, I would say, because that $7 million grant you don't have to pay back. So
Wow.
there's a lot of benefits right now. So I'm in the Red Academy. I don't know if we've spoken about this, but it's the real estate developer program. It's sponsored by the Amazon Housing Fund. So Amazon's put in $3-4 billion into Seattle, Nashville, and then I think it's Arlington, Virginia, or something like that is where they're putting their 3 headquarters. They're putting money into. So they've created a little incubator program, I guess, or accelerator program, I guess you could call it, where it's for the BIPOC culture people, and pretty much it's a 20-month educational finance connections, pretty much, I guess, an accelerator program to help real estate developers get into affordable housing. There's a big need in Nashville, and Amazon's willing to put money there. So this lending that they're giving is 99 years, but it's very, very, very low interest rates to help us create more affordable housing in these cities. So I'm in this program, which allows us to do projects like this at a little bit easier. So we get funding for even pre-development dollars. So everything that we're working on, this property that I mentioned for the parking spaces, all the pre-dev dollars that they will be funding for the most part, which helps us, especially as we're beginning developers get into the game. And then they also connect us with the financing people, and then also with the city officials to get things done. So like that church, I don't know anyone at that church, so they're helping me find contacts at the church to get that done. So it's a great program, and very, very blessed to be in it. There's only 12 of us in it. It's the second cohort going through. The first cohort graduated last December. But it's a 20-month long process, first and second Wednesday of every month, 5 to 8:30. And then they take us to a bunch of conferences and pay for those. Like ULI Fall Conference was in Vegas a couple of weeks ago. So we all went to that one. And then there's a affordable housing convention this weekend, or this coming week, in Chicago, which is a really big convention that a lot of our classmates are going to. So a lot of opportunity there. And then also continuing education wise, anything continuing education wise we want to do, they'll also pay for. So it's a very, very unique program that Amazon's sponsored. It's ran through the Urban League of Middle Tennessee, who actually runs the program for Amazon in the Nashville area. And they're very, very prominent in their area. They're actually doing, I believe, 2 or 3 very large affordable housing projects that they partnered with very large developers in the space over the next few years. So they just got done with one. It's called Shelby House. I think it opened 2 weeks ago. It's right near the Titan Stadium, brand new Titan Stadium, and it's, I would say, Class A, and it's affordable, which is really, really hard to find in Nashville.
Do you have to be on a waiting list to get into that, or is it something?
There is I believe there's already a wait list to get into it, but it's all based on AMI. So whatever your median income is depends on what you're going to pay. But there's definitely, I believe, a wait list already. So there's a very, very strong demand for affordable housing in Nashville. I mean, I'm sure there is in New York as well, but Nashville's never seen that. So it's very, very new. It's probably the past 5 years that everything skyrocketed. So a lot of the locals are getting displaced.
Yeah, we have what's called opportunity zones in New York. So there are certain pockets where, similar incentives. A lot of the incentives around here are related to taxes because the property taxes are so high. So similar product and opportunities for developers up here.
My last question on the hospitality, I'm just so interested in it because to me, when I'm driving anywhere, I'm always like multifamily. But when I see hotels, I'm like, how can that move itself over? So my last question is, when you meet with a seller who potentially has a hotel or motel they want to sell, do you say to them, if we can convert this, if I can get one of my investors to convert this over to multifamily, it may trade for more? Or is it purely just looking at the, revenue from the hotel, and that's the way to do it?
It's on a per key basis. So when we're selling these conversions, we sell them on a per key basis and sell it for revenue. So that's why these properties are selling for a higher value. The revenue of this property, I can tell you, is about I think 2 to 3 million that we're looking at right now. They're asking 10 million, which is about 5 times, which they're not going to get in this market if they're selling as a hotel. Around for a multifamily door, they're getting about 80 something K. I think they paid 30 something K for it when they bought it 5 or 6 years ago. So there's a huge gap in the price that people will pay for a hotel versus what they'll pay for a conversion opportunity. And that's the reason that a lot of these sellers are selling, because they're not even asking for a P&L. A lot of a lot of these developers that do these conversions, because that doesn't matter to them. they might ask for it for like insurance costs and taxes and stuff like that, but the actual revenue really doesn't make too much of a difference. Some will, some won't. Just really depends. But I know a lot of them don't even care about the P&L. They just want to know the price per door, see if it has sprinkler systems, see if it has the kitchenettes, see if it has the individual breaker panels. And if it has those three, usually they're like, all right, let me see what we can do with it. And they'll check out the comps and the rents, and they'll go from that. But it also depends, I would say, if where you are. There's a lot of developers that try to do this across the country, and they are successful. Some are not. But then there's also people that are like super hyper focused on their local community, and they're able to get these grants and they're able to get this funding to make these deals work a lot better. When you're doing this across the country, it's a little bit harder to make those connections and get that funding in the local municipalities. So the guy that just got this grant for $7 million, he's done 2 of them before, and this is the first time he's even got any type of government funding. So he's done 2 with just investor money, and his investors love this product. He actually went to school at NYU, and most of his investors are probably from New York. But he pretty much is just converting them at this point with finding nonprofits and finding government financing, because that was an avenue he didn't even know about until this last project. So I think staying super hyper focused on your community definitely helps.
You brought up community. You're an expert in multiple different markets, and one of the ways that me and Anthony became introduced to you is you brought us an amazing project in a tertiary market. Can you talk a little bit about the different markets, tertiary, secondary, and then you're such an expert in Western Tennessee and in some of the tertiary markets?
Yeah, so I mean, Nashville is obviously one of the primary markets, and when I'm thinking tertiary, I'm thinking secondary is like Jackson. Super tertiary, where we bought in Dyersburg, is like the outskirts. And there's strong demand.
Saying we bought in the outskirts? What are you saying here?
Hey, it's a great market. The outskirts is what I think where everyone needs to buy, to be honest, because you're getting product that no one is going to be able to develop in. No one's going to go develop in, and there's continuously going to be a demand there. No one is going to go to Dyersburg and build a brand new Class A, Class B property, but you can take a property that you've bought and make it one of the best properties in Dyersburg, and you'll do very well because you won't have any other competition for a very, very long time. I think markets like that is where you can definitely thrive, and you can buy products at a low price, and you're already at such a basis that these market rents for these areas are already very high. Even I guess comparatively to Jackson, Tennessee, I would say is a secondary market. I think it's still tertiary, but it's not like Dyersburg. I mean, you're going to pay close to top dollar in Dyersburg and get similar rents that you are in Dyersburg. And you're not going to be too far from that area. So I think hitting all those smaller towns, especially in West Tennessee, even Middle Tennessee, a lot of the small towns, they're starting to catch on. They're starting to realize what their properties are worth. Because we have so many people coming into Nashville, and the circle's expanding more and more around Nashville. And I think the same thing's going to happen in West Tennessee and Jackson. Jackson's getting Blue Oval City, which is the $5.2 billion Ford plant that they're putting over there. And that's bringing in an insane amount of industry. And along with that, they've got the NAFTA superhighway coming through, which is coming fairly close through Dyersburg. And it's going to be a route straight from Canada down to Mexico. So that's going to bring a lot of industrial along that corridor, and those markets, they can support a lot of industrial, because a lot of the jobs that the people in those markets are looking for are industrial. So I think you guys hit the nail on the head, finding something out there and kind of being the first in the market to kind of take that asset and take it to the next level. Because
we could take no credit for it. We're going to give the credit to you and Bryan, right? Before 6 months ago, I never couldn't pronounce the name Dyersburg, nor was Dyersburg even in my vocabulary. Somebody who's dyslexic has trouble saying words. So thank you for bringing us that opportunity.
Of course. We many more from where that came from.
Let's unpack for the listeners who don't understand the tertiary market, but let's unpack when you speak to a seller, are the sellers other syndicators, other investors that you're speaking to, or is it more the mom and pop that it's been like your family's hotel passed on from generation to generation? So first question is, who is the people you're speaking to? And second is, how are you handling the conversation when regarding expectation of price or numbers?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix. There's a lot of mom and pop owners out in West Tennessee and these tertiary markets, even in Middle Tennessee. Um, they're they're more willing to accept feedback because they don't really know what their property's worth. They've never even, a lot of them never even thought about selling it. And a lot of them are surprised at how much their property is worth, honestly. A lot of them, especially in West Tennessee, when we tell them what their property is worth, they're taken back because it's a lot more than they're expecting it to be, because they bought these properties a long time ago at pennies on the dollar, I would say, compared to what they're worth now.
I know. I looked up some of them up. I can't even believe someone can build for that much.
Exactly. And then there's some that are they've been doing this for a long time, similar to the owners of the property that we helped you guys buy. They've been doing it for a long time, so they kind of know what their property is worth, and they're going to stay firm to exactly what they want. And so we'll kind of see a mix of those. In terms of giving pricing guidance, like I said, the mom and pops are easier for sure. You can kind of it's easier because they're definitely worth more than what they're expecting for the most part. There's not been many. I don't think there's been many times where we've went to a mom and pop owner and they've came to us and said that this property is worth less than what it is, or more than what it is. So it all depends, I would say. I think it all depends.
And as far as you guys, are you reaching out to just, are you canvassing these secondary, tertiary markets and just kind of cold calling them and just, kind of getting their interest, whether or not they want to sell, and saying, hey, did you know that your property is worth this? If we can get you that, is that something you'd be interested in selling? Or, how do you guys kind of go about finding your sellers?
It all depends. It all depends. We have multiple ways of getting to these guys. We've got online marketing that we do, constant email chains that we send to a lot of these sellers, that we do our monthly marketing reports on, just updating them about the multifamily market. We got a mailer that we send to them that has their property and then the comps in that area, and just tells them exactly what we think their property might be worth. So we'll have a lot of them reach out from that. And then we'll cold call it. There's a lot of guys that we know have properties over there that are mom and pop that we can find contacts, similar, I guess, relations with. I've been in that Jackson market my whole life. I was born in Jackson. My family's all over there. A lot of my friends are over there. So finding a contact, finding an owner is pretty easy because pretty much everyone knows everyone over there for the most part. So a lot of these owners aren't going to be on CoStar. You're not going to find them online because they're just not there. Even a lot of the properties, I would say, aren't even on CoStar. It's more like digging, actually knowing the market, driving the market is how we find these assets. So
yeah, that's definitely what sets you guys apart, is you have those boots on the ground, rather than other investors trying to go directly to the seller. Like you said, you can't even find them, right?
Yep.
So you don't even know these buildings exist half the time if you're not inside of the market and have that knowledge of it.
Exactly.
Can you unpack a little bit of the cap rates and how they work in the different tertiary, secondary, and then, how does that work? Because people that are listening, some people are brand new investors and some people's portfolios are bigger than mine and Anthony's. So we want to be able to entertain all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I would say tertiary markets, you're looking more of like the 8 to 10 caps. And then when you get to more of the secondaries, you're in the 6 and 7s. And then obviously the CBDs, now they're still back into the 5s and 6, low 6, super low 6s if you can get them. But I'm still seeing the CBDs in the 5s. So I know before, I guess, the markets shifted, we were all the way down in 3s and 4s. And then for the CBDs, and then 5s and 6 for secondary markets, and 6 and 7s for the tertiary. But I think I definitely saw that shift a little bit the past couple of years.
I'm sorry, for me, I'll be honest, and for other people, you said like an acronym. What does that stand for?
Which acronym?
CBD.
Yeah, what is that?
Sorry, Central Business District. Sorry.
Okay.
Yep. So the Central Business District is like that downtown Nashville core, or like downtown Memphis core, and the downtown Knoxville core. There isn't many in Tennessee. You probably have way more in New York in comparison to what we have. But yeah, we don't have too many CBDs. down in that state. So
Where do you see the state of the market now? Do you see sellers starting to come to reality on their prices? And so that's question one. And question two is what's the projection for 25? You have a crystal ball, Kamal. What's going to happen?
yeah, I think I think they're still holding strong on some pricing. I think some are starting to budge, especially with hopefully rates changing a little bit. I think we're seeing some start to budge, start at least being realistic with where rates are. They're actually trying to get a deal done. A lot of them are just giving unrealistic expectations that even if you take it to a lender, they're going to tell you you can't do it. Some are starting to, if you can take them a quote from a lender, they'll try to at least get close or work with you. I think in 2025, it's going to be a very, very good year for us. From everything I'm seeing, even at the ULI event, they did a market report. And I know ULI does one of the biggest market studies out there yearly, and they're predicting a very, very strong year for 2025 with interest rates cutting. That's what they're expecting at least. So I think sellers are going to sell and buyers are going to buy. I think everyone's been on the sidelines for 2 to 3 years and everyone's hungry. I know a lot of people in Tennessee, especially the big guys, they've got cash laying around and they're ready to find deals. So I think 2025 is going to be a big, big year for us.
What they have dry powder, right? They got to move. They got to move it.
Exactly.
What are some of the best ways for new investors to try to get an offer accepted and also to get in front of the right brokers? Like you and Bryan.
Yeah, I mean, I think coming or reaching out to us and meeting us face to face is really the best way to build rapport. I know you guys flew out and brought us bagels, which was nice. And
New York bagels.
Bagels, yep. And then you guys sent us a video, which was very, very different, set you guys apart. You told us exactly what your criteria was, which is really important. We have people calling us all the time saying, hey, I want multifamily. And it's like, great, yeah, what do you want in multifamily? How many doors do you want? What cities do you want to be in? What class do you want to buy? What are you trying to do with the property? Those are questions that we would like to know. And if we have on the front end, we can help you find something. When we get a broad answer and just like we want multifamily, it's really hard to find what you want because we can send you stuff all day, but it's likely not going to meet what you want. So at least giving us your criteria and then telling us what you own, how you plan to finance stuff, that helps us a lot, especially when we go to these sellers, because the sellers want to know who we're bringing to the table. So if we're bringing someone to the table, we want them to be credible. Our reputation's on the line, so we want to know they can close the deal. So we're not going to take deals to people we don't think can get it done. So that's super, super important. Is if you say you're going to do something, do it. And if people sometimes can't close a deal because things come up, and I get it. But at the end of the day, if you communicate, you're transparent, and we know what you're doing, then I think that gets you to the top of the list for sure.
And I have to thank you and Bryan, because for Anthony and myself, obviously here in New York, we have all of our contacts, all of our financing ready. But in Tennessee, you guys had to put your name out there for us to get us the opportunity, because we know the old St. John's Apartments, which you'll be happy to know we renamed the Grove at Dyersburg. Just to class the place up a little bit, but you guys had to put your name on the line for us. So we appreciate that, because those sellers didn't know who we were. And although we are super experienced in real estate and multifamily real estate, we haven't syndicated before. It was our first syndication. So you had to say, hey, listen, these two clowns that brought us some bagels, and we really appreciate you guys putting your name on the line and ended up getting us the opportunity and closing the deal.
Of course, and you guys were great to work with. I mean, like I said, pretty much every quality that I mentioned that we would want from a client, you guys had. So we appreciate working with you guys for sure.
And just because no one's going to see this podcast, which is a lie, I'm joking. We got reached out by the other broker who had an offer right behind us. He called us to introduce himself and say, hey, you bought a great asset at a great price. But he's like, if you guys had any hiccups, we were swooping right in. We had another group to buy it. So all of that smoke really wasn't smoke. There was really other people chomping at the bits to grab our property. What are some of the trends that, being someone who's lived in Tennessee for your entire life, what are some of the changes you've seen over the last decade?
Last decade, I would definitely say the amount of influx of people that we've had come into Tennessee. I mean, we have no income tax, so that's brought in a lot of people from various different states, especially California, that have came in and just changed the market dramatically. Like not even just Nashville, they bought in even the tertiary markets. They bought like 100 acres on the farm, which was something that they never would have imagined in California. So it's changed dramatically the landscape of Tennessee of all these different people that have different levels of money coming in, and the locals are still kind of staying stagnant on what they're making and their lifestyle. So it's definitely changed. Nashville used to not be as big of a city as it is. I mean, the past 5 years I've been there, it's changed completely. It's more of a futuristic city. I was talking to my brother about it. We're looking out the window here in New York, and I was like, man, all these buildings are super, super old. And like, if you go down downtown Nashville, it's just like all glass skyscrapers, and it looks like a brand new futuristic city. So it's pretty crazy. I think the only old area you really have left in Nashville is like Broadway, and that's gonna stay historic forever. So um, seeing the change for sure in Nashville, and then even the East Bank of what's coming over there. There's nothing in that landscape, but in the future, there's our future horizon. There's already 60 like skyscrapers coming up, which right now is just a blank landscape. So seeing where the city is going in the next 10 years is honestly more exciting than where we've been in the past 10. So
Kamal, I know you also do vacation rentals. Talk to us a little bit about that. I know you have your hand in that side of buy and hold real estate. So could you talk a little bit about that?
yeah, I have a vacation rental in downtown Nashville. It's a 1 bedroom penthouse there. It was actually my bachelor pad before. I lived there for 3 years, and then I moved out last May, and now I've been Airbnb for like a year and a half. And the market's strong in Nashville still. It
So you
all
said
depends.
you've been Airbnb yourself. So that was you said your bachelor pad, the penthouse, but now you just been jumping around?
Now I live in a townhouse.
Okay.
Too far away. But yeah, I've Airbnb that place for a year and a half now, and it does very well. I think the short-term rental market in Nashville all depends on location. Um, I think everything on the other side of the river is going to take a bit of a dip. There's just way too much inventory that's came up on that side of the river, and you can't walk to downtown. And I think that's one of the biggest, I think, attractions for people that want to come to Nashville is they want to be able to walk around downtown and walk to Broadway and stuff like that. So I think being in the CBD or downtown, south of downtown, Edge Hill, 12 South, those areas are going to do very well. My location is actually the Gulch Edge Hill location, and my occupancy is probably 90% during the summer. Winter obviously dies down November, December, January, usually the slow months. We're around like 50 to 60% occupancy, but our ADR is still like 250. During the summer, close to $400 a night, which is very, very strong for a 1 bedroom, I would say.
I know you have a hard stop. I know you have a busy day. So, last question I have, and I'm sure Anthony has one more for you, and then we're going to ask for all your contact information so everyone can get in touch with you. But whenever I'm listening to podcasts and YouTube shows, and I'm hearing brokers that are very influential like you getting interviewed, drop a few towns that people should keep an eye out for, because I was literally the person writing it down. When I listened to you interviewed on other shows. So, what are a few towns that people might want to have their eye on, and great opportunity for someone to invest in Tennessee?
Yeah, I definitely think Jackson, Tennessee, and that community over there, it's gonna do very well. Jackson, Tennessee. I would say in Middle Tennessee, the area that's gonna do very well is gonna be like South, like Tullahoma, Shelbyville, Manchester. I think that area is gonna do very well. Um, and then I would say in East Tennessee, the city of Knoxville and Chattanooga. Anything around Chattanooga, I think is going to do very well. Knoxville has been booming for a long time, so I would say you're a little bit too late to Knoxville. The past couple of years, it's been going crazy, especially with student housing. But Chattanooga is a great city to get into. There's still a bunch of tertiary markets outside of Chattanooga, like Cleveland and Jasper and all these smaller towns right outside of Chattanooga that people are going to move to. Jasper is really close to Chattanooga, and it's got a lake there, so I think lakes always attract a lot of people, especially coming in from different cities, and it brings in industry and I think tourism. So I think those areas are going to do very well.
Love it. Love it.
Lot of great information, Kunal. We really can't thank you enough for jumping on with us. So definitely appreciate all of your time, and it was great experience on our first deal to work with you. So we look forward to keeping things moving and doing some more deals together.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Kamal, where can we find you?
So it's a lot of places, man. I'm in New York right now if you want to come find me here.
Well, it's not going to drop for a little while, so you'll already be warmer climate.
Now you can find me. I have my email is kunal.patel@svn.com. My cell phone number is 731-613-5487. Me and Bryan pride ourselves on answering and messaging people back. We usually don't give too long of a gap before we respond to you. So reach out to us and we'll get to you ASAP.
Awesome. Thanks. Good. Thank you so much for being on the show. Enjoy Manhattan. Have a pretzel. Right? Okay. Those pretzels are delicious. Have some pretzels and some nuts. You'll smell the nuts when you walk by those grease stands. Have a great time, and we'll see you soon when we're back in Tennessee. All right?
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Kunal. Take it easy, bud.